I'm not gonna lie, this comment got my head spinning a little bit. In a good way, though. Those of you that have been following me for a while, you know that I believe we're winding pretty close to the end times. I mean, can't set a date, it's biblical prophecy, but if it was not in my lifetime, I would be shocked with what we are seeing going on in the world right now. Nothing like it before has ever happened. People say that it has, but there are so many prophecies that are starting to come true in the Bible that were supposed to happen right before the end times that never have before in the past. We're seeing that right now. So I would be shocked if it wasn't in our lifetime. And in the video that I got this comment, I brought up how I believe the one world religion is Chrislam. For those of you that don't know, this is a convergence of the Abrahamic religions with a headquarters in Abu Dhabi. It's supposed to be a synagogue, a mosque, and a church. And all of this is being headed by the Pope. But I must admit, in the back of my head, I always wondered, because there's a lot of non-Abrahamic religions out there that wouldn't be on board with either of these three religions. And then this comment hit me like a ton of bricks. I don't know if most of you know who Kent Hovind is. He's the guy that kind of brought me out of this whole scientific mindset when I first became a Christian quite a few years ago now. He was one of the only creation scientists out at the time that was really putting out good information that could contend with what we were being taught with in school. He really helped me see that evolution is a total lie. It took a lot of deprogramming, though, because I went to school to get my degree in biology. Turns out that was a pretty worthless degree. But either way, I'm not speaking out of turn. I studied in college science, evolution, biology, everything. I studied all of this. It was part of my degree. So I know everything that they teach about the Big Bang. I know everything that they teach about biology. And once you see that there is another option out there, you realize that evolution is a total lie, and so is the Big Bang. There is zero proof for it. Everybody that believes in that doesn't realize it, but they are putting so much faith into that. And Kent Hovind always had this thing he would say, that science is a religion. Because really it is. You are taking man's word for it. They have a little machine that tells you this rock's 4 billion years old. Cool. I could make a machine that tells you anything I would want it to tell you. In fact, radioisotope dating proves that they couldn't date anything past 50,000 years, and even that would be a stretch since nothing's that old. Bottom line, there is zero proof for evolution or the Big Bang, and they are taught as fact. Even though in front, they literally put the word theory, which means conjecture. A theory means it's their best guess. They cannot scientifically prove it to you. They cannot prove that this set of bones evolved into this set of bones. They can't. It's impossible. This whole missing link with Lucy stuff is just a bunch of nonsense. It's monkey bones. Not to mention, they found dinosaur bones with live tissue still inside. In my Science and Headlines playlist, I go over all of this. They have found so much proof that these bones are not millions of years old. It's insane. Pseudoscience is something you can't test, you can't repeat, and you can't observe. That is what the Big Bang is. That is what evolution is. We have never witnessed, ever, in all of recorded human history, something turning into not its own kind. You can have a big dog and a little dog, but you still get a dog. Chicken eggs don't hatch cats. And bacteria doesn't turn into non-bacteria. And again, zero proof for the Big Bang. None whatsoever. In fact, they can't even prove gravity to us. I mean, there's a flat earther out there who's offered $250,000 to anyone that can make water stick to a spinning ball. Guess what? No one's claimed that prize. There is only a handful of people from a government agency that's been proven to be full of liars that have been to space. And what have they showed you? Crappy pictures. You haven't been to space. You don't know if what they're telling us is true. It's straight up sun worship. The pagans worship the sun and they put it at the center of the universe. And then they named all the planets after other pagan gods, and those all revolve around their greatest god, the sun. People are worshiping science and they have no idea. All of your faith is placed in these things that cannot be proven whatsoever. Heck, Do you have any idea how much faith it takes to believe that everything miraculously happened like it did, and that somehow you evolved from a rock that came from an explosion of nothing that created everything we know? Now that is some faith. It takes more faith to believe in that than it does to believe in my creator of the universe. Especially when real science, which is testable, observable, and repeatable, consistently proves the Bible to be accurate. They have even found sea fossils on top of Mount Everest. Worldwide flood, maybe? I don't know, I feel like I read about that somewhere once before. They've even tried to use pseudoscience to explain that away. Oh, no, they were down there billions of years ago, and then the tectonic plates just kind of shoved them up to the top, even though we can't witness it. Pseudoscience is evolution, Big Bang, and even gravity. They can't prove it to you.
If the Big Bang Theory is true, then I would like to know what exploded and where did it come from and where did the energy come from and where did the space come from for the matter to expand into and where did the organization come from and where did the information come from? There's a whole host of questions that are a whole lot harder for you to answer than in the beginning God. Where's information come from? This universe is not just random molecules circulating around. I mean, it carries information. Just like a book is so much more than ink on a paper, it carries information. And the DNA is more than just chemicals. It's information. So the evolutionist never answers the question, where did this information come from? Where did the energy come from? Where did the matter itself come from? And you gripe about my belief. I believe by faith in the beginning God. I know, I admit I don't understand that. But you believe hundreds of things by faith. You don't even understand that you're believing by faith. You think matter is either eternal or can create itself. Well, that's the two choices. How did matter get here? The world is here. Where did the matter come from? Did it just happen by itself? Or is it all just imaginary? We're not really here at all. You're faced with the option of, we're not really here. This is all just our imagination. Or it had a beginning. Or matter is eternal, which is both of the second two options are in violation of the obvious laws of thermodynamics. Matter doesn't create itself. And everything degrades over time. So either it had a beginning or it didn't. If it had a beginning, then what was before the beginning? I mean, there's so many thousands of things you take by faith. I say in the beginning God, and you say, well, this matter somehow either was always here or created itself. And then this matter somehow became alive. And then this first living thing learned how to reproduce. And then it learned how to make something other than its kind. I mean, even though nobody's ever seen that, nobody's ever seen a dog produce a non-dog. Or you mentioned about, the fact that a wolf and a fox and a dog coming from a common ancestor off Noah's Ark in only 4,400 years. For heaven's sake, you believe they came from a rock. I mean, come on. I don't think my theory is that silly at all. So, if my answer to your question is still the same, I believe in the beginning God. I do take that by faith. Here's the major difference that I don't think you're going to understand. I admit mine is a religion. They do not admit theirs is a religion. They want you to think what they believe is science, and all of you should pay for their religion to be taught in this university. And that's the situation we have today, and that's unfortunate. There have always been situations where the majority taught something. I mean, in the Soviet Union 15 years ago, if you stood up and said, hey, kids, I don't believe in communism. I think capitalism is a better system. You would be in Siberia if you survived. And here in Emory University, if you stood up in your classroom and said, I don't believe this evolution theory is true, I think it's pretty obvious there must have been a designer to this system, you would be in intellectual Siberia. You would lose your job. It has happened to hundreds of teachers, just simply for standing up and say, look, I think the evidence is here, folks. There must have been a designer. If I asked you to explain how computers came to be, but you cannot use man as your answer, I only want a purely naturalistic explanation for the origin of computers. Purely naturalistic. The answer has to lie within the computer. How did these molecules get together? How did this data get together? How did these plastic molecules come together and the different silicone chips? How did it happen? Your answer has to lie in the computer. I've already eliminated the only obvious answer to the problem at the beginning by my definition. They're trying to eliminate the only logical answer to the question by their definition of science. They want to define science as things that we can observe and test and demonstrate in the natural world. Okay, well then that eliminates both evolution and creation. Both are unobserved. We don't see anything change. We don't see anything created from nothing. Here's the problem. Both creation and evolution are religious. I admit mine's a religion. They don't admit theirs is a religion. And all of us are paying for their religion to be taught in the school system. And I, for one, resent that. So my answer is still the same.